I received the text from Jake while I was sitting on my couch, scrolling through social media. The screen lit up with his name, and my heart skipped a beat. "Hey man, I could really use your help today. Moving in with Leo." My stomach flipped. I had known about Jake's new boyfriend, but the reality of their relationship was suddenly all too real. I glanced around my apartment, half-heartedly considering whether I should just respond with a good luck instead. But before I could overthink it, I typed back, "Sure. What time?" The clock on the wall ticked down, and before I knew it, I was standing in front of Jake's new apartment, feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety. I had met Leo only a couple of times, always at Jake's parties or gatherings. He was charming, effortlessly funny, and had a smile that could light up a room. The thought of being alone with him made me both anxious and a little thrilled. When I stepped inside, the chaos of moving greeted me. Boxes were stacked everywhere, and Jake was frantically directing a couple of his friends on where to put things. "Alex, you made it," Jake called out, his face lighting up. I waved and smiled, feeling a rush of familiarity and comfort. "Ready to lift some heavy boxes," I joked, and he laughed. "As ready as I'll ever be." I joined them in the living room, where Leo was unpacking a box labeled kitchen. He looked up and smiled at me, his eyes bright with enthusiasm. "Hey Alex, thanks for coming to help out. You're a lifesaver." "Anything for you guys," I replied, trying to keep my tone light. As I helped Leo with the box, I felt an electric charge in the air. Our hands brushed against each other, and I could feel my heart racing. I tried to shake off the feeling, reminding myself that Jake was right there, unaware of the confusion brewing inside me. As the day progressed, I found myself stealing glances at Leo. He had an easy laugh, and when he spoke, it was as if he pulled everyone in with his charm. I watched him chat with Jake and their friends, his energy infectious. I couldn't help but feel drawn to him, a magnetic pull I struggled to comprehend. After a few hours of hard work, we decided to take a break. Jake ordered pizza, and we sprawled out on the living room floor, tired but happy. Leo sat across from me, and I could feel the warmth radiating from him. Our eyes met, and I felt a flutter in my chest. "So how do you like living in the city so far?" I asked, trying to keep the conversation going while battling the unease brewing inside me. "It's amazing. I love being in a place where there's always something happening," Leo replied, his eyes shining. "Jake has been such a great help in making the transition easier." I nodded, feeling a twinge of jealousy. "Yeah, he's a good friend." Just then, Jake returned with the pizza, and the conversation shifted. We all dug in, laughing and joking as we ate. But I couldn't shake the feeling of being on the outside looking in. The chemistry between Jake and Leo was palpable, and I felt an odd mix of happiness for my friend and a growing discomfort at my own feelings. After dinner, the unpacking resumed. I worked alongside Leo, handing him items from boxes while stealing furtive glances at him. The way he moved, the way he smiled, it was intoxicating. I could feel my heart racing, and I couldn't help but wonder if Jake sensed the tension building between us. As the evening wore on, we moved into the bedroom to unpack Leo's things. The air felt thick with anticipation, and I found myself caught between excitement and fear. "Do you need help with anything else?" I asked, my voice slightly shaky. Leo turned to me, his expression serious for a moment. "Actually, yeah. Could you help me hang up some of my artwork?" "Of course," I replied, feeling my pulse quicken. We gathered the pieces and set up in the living room. I handed him a painting, and as our hands brushed again, I felt a jolt of electricity surge through me. It was becoming harder to ignore the growing attraction. The way he looked at me, the way his laughter made my heart race, it was all too much. "Wow, you have a great eye for art," I said, trying to keep the conversation light. "Thanks. I've always loved collecting pieces that inspire me," Leo replied, his eyes meeting mine. "It makes me feel connected to my surroundings." "Yeah, I get that," I said, my heart pounding in my chest. Just then, Jake walked in, breaking the moment. "How's it going, lovebirds?" he teased, a grin on his face. I felt my cheeks flush, and I shot Jake a playful glare. "Just hanging up some art." Sure, he replied, winking at Leo before leaving the room again. The comment hung in the air, leaving me with a mix of embarrassment and confusion. I could feel the weight of my attraction to Leo pressing down on me, a secret I was terrified to acknowledge. As we continued hanging the artwork, I felt the tension rising again. Our hands brushed against each other more often, and I could see Leo's gaze lingering on me. My mind raced, torn between the thrill of our connection and the guilt I felt for being attracted to my best friend's boyfriend. When the last piece was hung, Leo stepped back to admire the work. "Looks great, right?" he said, his smile wide. "Yeah, it does," I replied, my heart racing. Just then, Jake walked in with more boxes, completely unaware of the charged atmosphere. "All right, what's next?" The moment passed, and I felt a sense of relief wash over me, but also disappointment. I couldn't deny that I wanted to explore the connection with Leo, but my loyalty to Jake held me back. As the night wore on and the work continued, I felt an internal conflict growing stronger. I wanted to protect my friendship with Jake, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was blossoming between Leo and me. Finally, the night came to an end, and Jake thanked me for my help. "You're the best, man. I couldn't have done this without you," he said, clapping me on the back. "Anytime," I replied, feeling a mix of happiness and guilt. As I walked out, I felt a sense of longing for the connection I had felt with Leo. I turned back one last time to see Leo standing in the doorway, a contemplative expression on his face. We locked eyes, and in that moment, I felt a spark of something unspoken pass between us. As I drove home, my mind was racing. The thrill of the day lingered in the back of my mind, battling with the guilt and confusion. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was standing at a crossroads, one that could change everything. In the days that followed, I found myself replaying the events of that night in my mind. Every glance, every brush of skin, every smile, it was all-consuming. The chemistry between Leo and me was undeniable, and I felt a growing urge to confront it. But how could I do that without jeopardizing my friendship with Jake? I was caught in a whirlwind of emotions, wrestling with guilt and desire. I knew I needed to talk to Leo, to confront the tension that had been building. As the weekend approached, I felt a sense of determination brewing within me. I couldn't keep ignoring my feelings. It was time to find out what lay beneath the surface, to see if there was a chance for something more. That Saturday, I decided to text Leo. "Hey, want to hang out this weekend?" He replied almost instantly. "Absolutely. What do you have in mind?" My heart raced as I typed back. "How about a painting session at my place?" "I'd love that. What time?" As we made plans, I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. I knew this could change everything, and I was ready to confront the feelings I had tried to push aside. As the day approached, I prepared myself for whatever would unfold. I wanted to embrace the unknown and see where this connection with Leo could lead. My heart raced at the thought of what was to come. The morning of our painting session dawned bright and sunny, casting a warm glow throughout my apartment. I spent the morning preparing, trying to calm the anxious butterflies dancing in my stomach. As I set up my art supplies, I couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. Today could be the day everything changed between Leo and me, and I was determined to see where this connection might lead. When Leo arrived, he knocked lightly on the door, and my heart raced. I opened it to find him standing there, beaming with a smile that made my insides flutter. He wore a casual, fitted t-shirt that accentuated his athletic build, and I couldn't help but admire how effortlessly attractive he was. "Hey, you," he greeted, stepping inside. "Hey, thanks for coming," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. As he walked in, the familiar scent of paint and turpentine filled the air, creating an atmosphere that felt inviting and creative. I gestured to the array of canvases and paints laid out on the table. "I thought we could experiment a little. Just have fun with it." Leo looked around, clearly excited. "This is amazing. I love how organized you are." "Just trying to keep it easy," I replied, feeling a rush of nervous energy. We settled into the creative process, and as we painted, the air was filled with laughter and lighthearted banter. I felt the tension of our previous encounters begin to dissipate, replaced by a comfortable familiarity. As we painted, I tried to focus on the canvas in front of me, but my thoughts kept drifting to Leo. His laughter was infectious, and I found myself stealing glances at him, captivated by the way he immersed himself in his work. The colors swirled on the canvas, much like the emotions swirling inside me. "Okay, what are you painting?" Leo asked, looking over at my canvas with genuine curiosity. I hesitated, feeling self-conscious. I'm not sure yet, just letting it flow. He nodded, his expression encouraging. That's the best way to do it. Art is about feeling. His words struck a chord, and I felt emboldened. What about you? What's your inspiration? Leo leaned closer to me, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. I'm painting what I see in front of me, how vibrant everything feels when I'm with someone who gets me. His words hung in the air, and I felt my heart race. The moment felt charged with unspoken tension. Someone like who, I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. Someone like you, he replied, his gaze steady. The admission sent a thrill through me, and I felt heat rise to my cheeks. Really? Yeah, you have this energy that's just different. It makes me want to create, he said, and I felt a wave of warmth wash over me. The atmosphere shifted, becoming more intimate. I could feel the connection between us growing stronger. The playful banter faded, and in that moment it was just the two of us, lost in each other's gaze. I felt my breath quicken, a mixture of fear and exhilaration coursing through me. Just then, Leo broke the moment by turning back to his canvas, laughing as he smeared paint across it. Okay, enough serious talk. Let's see who can make the ugliest painting. I laughed, the tension breaking slightly, and I decided to play along. You're on. Just don't cry when I win. As we dove back into our painting, the air filled with laughter, but I couldn't shake the intensity of our earlier moment. Every brushstroke felt charged, and I found myself glancing at Leo more frequently, my heart racing each time our eyes met. After a while, we took a break, both of us leaning back to admire our work. Okay, this might actually be the most ridiculous thing I've ever created, Leo said, his eyes wide with mock horror as he examined his colorful mess. It's perfect in its own way, I replied, chuckling. Leo smirked, leaning closer to me. You're just saying that because you're too nice. No, seriously. Art doesn't have to be perfect. It's about expressing yourself, right? I said, feeling a spark of passion. Exactly. You're wise beyond your years, he teased, and I felt a rush of warmth at his compliment. Just then, I caught sight of the time and realized how late it had gotten. Wow, we've been at this for hours. Time flies when you're having fun, Leo said, his expression sincere. Want to order some food? I suggested, feeling a wave of excitement at the idea of spending more time together. Definitely. I'm starving, he replied, pulling out his phone to look up nearby places. As we placed our order, the atmosphere between us felt easy and relaxed. We talked about everything and nothing at all, the conversation flowing as naturally as the paint on our canvases. I felt grateful for this time together, but the undercurrent of tension still lingered, waiting to be addressed. When the food arrived, we set it up on the coffee table and continued chatting as we ate. With every laugh and shared bite, I felt the connection between us grow stronger. I loved how effortlessly we interacted, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was waiting just beneath the surface, something that could change everything. After we finished eating, we moved back to the painting area, our canvases now set aside. Leo picked up a paintbrush and gestured toward the wall. What do you think about creating something big, something we can both add to? That sounds amazing, I replied, feeling a surge of excitement. As we began painting on the wall, I felt the atmosphere shift again. The energy between us was electric, and every brushstroke felt like a shared experience. We were creating something together, and with every movement, I felt a deepening connection. Leo stepped closer to me, our shoulders brushing against each other. I could feel the heat radiating from him, and my heart raced. You know, he began, his voice low, I've really enjoyed spending this time with you. You have no idea how much it means to me. I turned to look at him, my breath catching in my throat. It means a lot to me too, I admitted, my heart pounding. In that moment, the tension finally broke, and everything felt heightened. The chemistry between us was undeniable, and I could feel the air thickening with anticipation. I can't help but feel there's something more between us, Leo said, his gaze locked on mine. My heart raced as I processed his words. I feel it too, I confessed, the truth spilling from my lips. Just then, the doorbell rang, interrupting the moment. I felt a wave of disappointment wash over me as Leo stepped back, breaking the connection. I'll get it, I said, trying to mask my frustration. When I opened the door, I found Jake standing there, a wide grin on his face. "Hey guys, how's it going?" "Just painting," I replied, trying to sound casual. "Looks like fun." "I'll leave you to it," Jake said, glancing between us. There was a flicker of curiosity in his eyes, but he didn't say anything. As he left the room, I felt a mix of relief and frustration. I wanted to explore this connection with Leo, but the moment had slipped away yet again. Leo sighed, glancing back at the wall. "Well, that was unfortunate timing." "Yeah," I said, feeling the weight of the missed opportunity. But as we resumed painting, I felt a spark of determination rising within me. I didn't want to let this moment pass again. I glanced over at Leo, who was focused on the wall, and took a deep breath. "Leo, I want to talk about what just happened." He looked over, his expression serious. "Okay, let's talk. I've been feeling this connection between us, and I don't want to ignore it anymore," I admitted, my heart racing. Leo stepped closer, the tension palpable. "Neither do I. I want to explore this, but we have to be careful." "I know," I replied, feeling the weight of our situation. "But I don't want to hide my feelings." "Me neither," he said softly, his gaze unwavering. The moment felt charged, and I could feel the energy shifting between us. We were on the brink of something new, and I felt a rush of exhilaration mixed with fear. As we stood there, the world outside faded away, and it was just the two of us. I knew that whatever happened next, we would face it together. The uncertainty loomed large, but in that moment, I felt ready to embrace it. "Let's keep painting," Leo suggested, breaking the tension. "Yeah, let's do it," I replied, feeling a sense of relief. We returned to the wall, the energy between us crackling. The colors flowed together, a reflection of the connection we were building. With each stroke, I felt more at ease, knowing that whatever lay ahead, we would navigate it together. As the night wore on, I realized that this was just the beginning of our journey. The excitement and anticipation of what was to come filled me with hope, and I knew that I was ready to embrace the love that was blossoming between us. The next few days flew by in a blur, each moment filled with anticipation and anxiety. The lingering tension from my last encounter with Leo hung in the air, a constant reminder of the chemistry we had ignited. I was excited but terrified about where things might lead. My mind raced with possibilities, and I found myself replaying our conversations over and over, analyzing every detail. After a few days of intense internal conflict, I finally decided I couldn't let fear dictate my feelings any longer. I texted Leo, suggesting we meet again for another painting session. To my delight, he responded almost immediately. "Absolutely. Can't wait to create something amazing together." My heart soared at the thought of spending more time with him. When the day of our painting session arrived, I was a bundle of nerves. I spent the morning tidying up my apartment and preparing my supplies, trying to channel my anxious energy into something productive. As I arranged the paints, I thought about how much I looked forward to seeing Leo again. The thought of exploring our connection filled me with excitement. When he arrived, my breath caught in my throat. Leo stood at my door, looking effortlessly charming in a fitted shirt and jeans that hugged him in all the right places. "Hey, you," he greeted, his smile wide and genuine. "Hey, I'm glad you made it," I said, trying to play it cool. As we settled into the living room, I could feel the electric tension between us. The moment felt charged, and I wanted to bridge the gap between us, to explore what lay beneath the surface. "So, what are we working on today?" Leo asked, picking up a paintbrush and inspecting my supplies. "I thought we could do something different this time. Maybe create a mural on that wall," I suggested, pointing to the blank space that had been waiting for some color. Leo's eyes lit up with excitement. "I love that idea. Let's make it big and bold." With renewed enthusiasm, we began brainstorming ideas. We tossed around colors and themes, our conversation flowing as easily as the paint we were about to use. But the deeper we delved into our creative process, the more I felt the undercurrents of tension building. I could sense Leo's attraction to me, just as I felt my own growing stronger. As we painted, I stole glances at him, noticing the way his brow furrowed in concentration and how his lips curled into a smile when he stepped back to admire our work. The closer we stood to each other, the more I could feel the warmth radiating from him. I was hyper-aware of every little touch, every accidental brush against each other's arms. Do you want to try painting something together? Leo asked, breaking my train of thought. Sure, what do you have in mind? How about we create a blend of our styles? Something that represents both of us, he suggested, his eyes sparkling with excitement. I love that. Let's do it, I replied, feeling a surge of energy. We began painting together, our movements synchronized as we blended colors and ideas. As our hands brushed against each other, I could feel my heart racing. I wanted to lean in closer, to close the distance and see what would happen. Hey, can I ask you something? Leo said suddenly, breaking the silence. Of course, I replied, trying to keep my tone steady. Why do you think there's been this tension between us? I felt a jolt of surprise at his question. The directness caught me off guard. I guess I've been wondering the same thing, I admitted, my heart pounding. Leo stepped closer, his expression serious. I can't help but feel this connection, and I want to know if you feel it too. In that moment, I felt a rush of adrenaline. I do feel it, Leo. I've tried to ignore it, but I can't anymore, I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. His eyes searched mine and I could see the relief wash over his face. I'm glad to hear you say that. I've been feeling it since we first started hanging out. Just then, the doorbell rang, breaking the intensity of the moment. I felt a wave of frustration wash over me. I'll get it, I said, trying to mask my disappointment. When I opened the door, I found Jake standing there, a wide grin on his face. Hey guys, just wanted to check in on the artistic progress. Come on in, I said, feeling the tension between Leo and me dissipate, but also recognizing how much I wanted to finish the conversation we had just started. Jake entered, glancing around the room, his eyes landing on the mural we had begun. This looks amazing. You two are quite the artists. Thanks. We were just getting into it, Leo replied, his enthusiasm unshaken. Good to see you both bonding. I knew this would be a great idea, Jake said, oblivious to the charged atmosphere that had just been interrupted. As we spent time talking and painting, I felt the lingering connection I had with Leo slip further away. Jake continued to chat, recounting funny stories from their moving day, and I felt a mixture of relief and frustration. I wanted to explore my feelings for Leo, but every interruption made it harder to bridge that gap. Eventually, Jake left, and the moment of tension returned. Sorry about that, I said, feeling both relieved and frustrated. It's okay. I was just enjoying the moment, Leo replied, a hint of disappointment in his voice. Me too. I really want to talk about us, I said, feeling the urgency rise within me. Leo nodded, stepping closer again. Let's do that. The air felt charged as we faced each other, the unspoken words hanging between us. I don't want to complicate things with Jake, I began, my voice trembling slightly. I understand. But we can't ignore how we feel, Leo said firmly. I know. It's just, I don't want to hurt anyone, I confessed, my heart racing. Neither do I. But I can't pretend I don't feel this connection, he replied, his eyes steady. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my emotions. You're right. I want to embrace this, but it's scary. Scary can be good. It means we're stepping outside of our comfort zones, Leo said, his voice soothing. In that moment, I felt a wave of courage wash over me. Okay, let's explore this together, I said, my heart pounding. As we resumed painting, I felt the atmosphere shift again. The energy between us was electric, and every brushstroke felt like a step towards something new. I focused on the canvas in front of me, pouring my emotions into the artwork, the connection between us growing stronger with every passing moment. Eventually, the sun began to set, casting a warm glow through the window. I felt the atmosphere shift, and I could sense that the moment we had been waiting for was finally within reach. Let's take a break, Leo suggested, wiping his hands on a cloth. Yeah. I need a moment, I replied, my voice steady. We stepped back from the canvas, taking a moment to admire our work. The colors blended together beautifully, a reflection of our growing connection. It's amazing how this has turned out, Leo said, stepping closer to me. It really is. I'm proud of what we created together, I replied, feeling the warmth radiating between us. As we stood there, the world outside faded away. It was just the two of us, standing inches apart, the air thick with anticipation. I could feel the magnetic pull between us, and I knew we were on the brink of something incredible. "Can I tell you something?" Leo asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Of course," I replied, my heart racing. "I've wanted to kiss you since the first time we hung out," he admitted, his gaze locked onto mine. The admission sent a rush of exhilaration through me. "I've wanted to kiss you too," I confessed, feeling the tension explode between us. Without hesitation, Leo leaned in closer, our lips brushing against each other softly. The kiss was tentative at first, but the moment our lips connected, everything else faded away. It was as if time stood still, and all I could feel was the warmth of his body and the spark of chemistry igniting between us. As we pulled away, breathless and wide-eyed, I could hardly believe what had just happened. "Wow," I whispered, my heart racing. "Wow." Indeed, Leo echoed, his expression a mix of surprise and joy. The moment felt electric, and I could feel the connection between us solidifying. "I can't believe we finally did that," I said, still trying to catch my breath. "Me neither," he replied, a smile spreading across his face. As we stood there, our hearts racing, I knew that everything had changed between us. The fears and uncertainties that had plagued me began to fade, replaced by a sense of excitement for what lay ahead. We were ready to explore this connection, and I couldn't wait to see where it would lead. We returned to the canvas, our energy renewed as we continued to paint. The atmosphere felt lighter, filled with laughter and playful teasing. I could feel the bond between us strengthening with every moment we shared. As the night wore on, we talked and laughed, our chemistry undeniable. I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for this unexpected connection and the opportunity to explore it with someone as genuine as Leo. Eventually, we stepped back to admire our mural, a beautiful representation of our journey together. The colors blended perfectly, symbolizing the connection we had forged. "Look at what we created," Leo said, stepping back to admire our work. "It's incredible," I replied, feeling a sense of accomplishment. As we cleaned up the paint and supplies, I felt a rush of happiness. I had taken a leap of faith, and it felt exhilarating. I was ready to embrace this new chapter in my life, one filled with love and creativity. In that moment, I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, I was ready to face them with Leo by my side. The journey ahead felt bright, filled with endless possibilities. Together, we were creating a masterpiece not just on the wall, but in our lives,